Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Travis and this is Bacon and Backpacking. Today I'm going to be showing you backpacking gear that I'm throwing in the trash. Let's get started. Alright, so first things first. Traditional backpacks. This is actually the Kelty Coyote 65. It was a very good beginner backpack that served me well. But as you can see, this thing is enormous. 65 liters is well beyond the capacity that I need. I'm actually rocking a 50-liter Z-Packs right now, and it's too big. My entire gear setup weighs a little over 10 pounds right now, and this pack weighs 4.5. So just the empty pack weighs about half as much as all of my gear that I take on a trip. So with that being said, don't need this thing anymore. Let's throw it in the trash. Alright, item number 2. This cracks me up. Hatchets, tomahawks, any sort of, like axe type of tool. When it's winter time and you're doing a whole bunch of wood processing, in theory, this could come in handy. But after I took it about 3 or 4 times and realized that I was never actually going to use it, I stopped putting it in the pack, and it's going to save you, about 1.5 pounds. I do carry a small fixed blade knife with me backpacking, but that thing weighs about, 4.5 ounces compared to 1.5 pounds. If, I do need to process down some wood because the conditions are a little bit wet, I'll just go ahead and baton it with that knife. I'm never going to pull this thing out. It's a whole bunch of weight, takes up space that you definitely don't need on a backpacking trip. I would suggest that you start leaving stuff like this at home. So for me, this thing has been in the trash for a long time. Item number 3 that I'm throwing in the trash is going to be paracord. The reason why, I'm not saying you shouldn't have any cordage with you. I'm just saying paracord is probably one of the poorest choices. I run a hammock setup, so I use a tarp, which means I have a decent amount of cordage that I bring with me. I originally was using paracord because I had a ton of it laying around and didn't really think much of it. I have since switched to Dyneema cordage, which is a little bit more expensive, but honestly not that much for the amount of weight that you save. I saved over 6 ounces in my pack by getting rid of all my paracord and swapping it over to Dyneema cordage. So paracord also stretches out when it gets wet. Dyneema cordage does not, so you don't have to, tighten your tarp back up or anything like that. That Dyneema cordage just stays where you tie it. For only a little bit more cost, I think a 100-foot roll of it's about 15 bucks or something like that. Paracord's going in the trash. The more things that I grab, the more I realize how controversial this is going to end up being. Item number 4 that I'm throwing in the trash is going to be a backpacking pillow. This is really only going to apply, in my opinion, to hammock campers, okay? If you're sleeping on the ground in a tent, you're probably going to need some sort of pillow, especially if, especially if you're like a side sleeper or something like that. You're going to need an even taller pillow. But for me in the hammock, I found out that, I put like 1 breath in this thing. Just barely any at all, because anything more than that is actually too much loft in the hammock. It elevates my head too much. I put 1 breath in this thing, and then half the time I wake up in the middle of the night and I have it kicked someplace away from my head, and I'm just laying flat on the hammock fabric, and generally I just fall back asleep that way. So considering that, I end up not using this half the time, I am no longer bringing it to sleep in. So pillow, going in the trash. Alright, next piece of gear that is going in the trash can is the ginormous cooking set. If you're a car camper and you've got like a whole family or something and you want to make like a big, like group dinner or something like that, you can do that. And early on in my backpacking days, I actually used to take an enormous container like this, because I thought, hey, I take Sarah with me, we'll both just have like a big dinner that we'll make together here. But the thing is you never really feel like doing it. You're too tired, or you don't want to deal with the hassle. One person's hungry, the other person's not hungry. There's a ton of dishes to do and stuff like that. So just to give you guys an idea of like what I replaced this with, this is my current cooking system that I use right here. This is everything. This is my cooking pot, my stove's in there, lighters in there, and then also a fuel canister is in there as well too. So literally everything I need to cook is right here, as compared to, this thing, right? Plus this is titanium, super lightweight. So I found it's just way easier for everybody to just cook their own food. And to be honest with you, I just found it as being something that was unnecessary to have in my pack. So we're throwing it in the trash. Alright, the controversies are just going to keep on piling up in this video. So I can't wait to see the comments on this one. A sleeping bag. Okay, I have used sleeping bags my entire life, right? Until I recently switched to quilts about 1.5 years ago, and I can tell you one thing, there's literally no reason to have a sleeping bag. Quilt is every bit as warm at, about half the weight. Not quite half, but close, okay? So you're gonna save about half the weight by switching to a quilt. If you have a good quilt and you use it correctly, okay, it's going to keep you every bit as warm as a sleeping bag will without wasting all that extra space in your pack and without wasting all of that extra weight. I'm also throwing synthetic insulation in the trash, okay? This is actually part of the old modular sleep system that the US military used. This is supposed to be a 0-degree sleeping bag. It is filled with a synthetic insulation. In my opinion, down is superior to synthetic in literally every single way, except for one. Down will not perform as well wet. That leads me to my next thing. Using your gear correctly, right? You shouldn't be getting your sleep system wet, but down is going to be way lighter. It's going to pack down to about 1/3 of the size. Personally, I think it's going to last longer. Some people have down bags they've been using for 20 years. A synthetic bag is probably going to be garbage after about like 5 years, if you use it quite a bit. So if down is treated properly, it's stored properly, yes, it is 3 to 4 times more as expensive, but you're going to get 5 times, the durability out of it. You're not gonna have to carry as much weight, and it's gonna fit in your pack better. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. So synthetic insulation, sleeping bags, going in the trash. All right, so far, most of the things in this video that have ended up in the trash, it's been because they have been heavier, bulkier items, and I have switched to, lighter gear. This one's actually going to be the opposite. This is a sit pad, weighs about 3.5, 4 ounces, something like that. So there's no doubt that this is lighter than a backpacking chair. The chair is so much more comfortable, and with the advances in modern, fabrics and designs and stuff like that, if you can get a chair for just slightly over £1, the added comfort that brings you, and a lesser amount of back pain, you just feel better, like sitting in camp relaxing around the fire. Your back doesn't hurt as bad. In my opinion, that is one of the few things where it actually makes more sense to go a little bit heavy. A lot of the ultralight folks would think it's probably blasphemy to use a chair instead of a sit pad. My gear weighs about 10.5 pounds for everything, okay, and that's with a chair. I've got a couple more upgrades I'm going to make that's going to put me below that 10-pound mark, and that is with a chair included. So it is possible to still be ultralight and still be comfortable. The sit pad is a good piece of gear, but it just doesn't, it pales in comparison to, a chair. So the sit pad, go in the trash. All right, and since this entire video has been nothing but controversy up to this point, we might as well just, drive the nail straight into the coffin on this thing. Let me hear about it in the comments. The final piece of gear that I'm throwing in the trash is going to be hiking boots. I have been wearing boots my entire life. I was in the military for 7 years. I have been a boot guy. That was until I bought a pair of trail runners. Trail runners, in my opinion, are better in literally every single way. They're more comfortable. They don't chew up your feet as much. But the people don't think about this. You're always thinking about the weight that you have in your pack, but you're not thinking about the weight on your feet. Look at the difference in size here. I mean, these things aren't even half of the weight, okay? And it does matter. I can tell you from hiking in these and then hiking in trail runners, it is just easier to hike wearing shoes. For the seasons that permit, you will find me in trail runners probably for the rest of my life. With that being said, we're throwing the boots in the trash. Or are we? I live in Ohio. Hold on, I'm gonna get those back out. So I'm throwing these in the trash until the weather gets below freezing. These are Gore-Tex boots, okay? So there is something to be said for, when it's really cold, having something that is going to guarantee, keeping your feet dry. I know that they do make Gore-Tex and water-resistant shoes, okay? But let's be honest, there's not enough coverage on those, to really keep you dry. So if you're going to be walking through some streams and stuff, I would still keep the boots. But I will tell you guys, in all honesty though, I'm going to wear trail runners every single time over boots that I'm able to. Once that temperature drops below freezing and I'm worried about getting my feet wet, probably going to put the boots back on. All right, everybody. So hopefully, hopefully you got a kick out of this video. It was meant to be, semi-serious. These are just changes that I have made over the years with my setup. I have moved towards pretty much like an ultralight setup. For me personally, I feel like that works the best. I used to be carrying 35-pound packs for overnighters. Now I'm carrying 15-pound packs for, you know, 4-day trips, right? It's just more enjoyable. It feels better. It doesn't beat your body up as much. That is what works for me. I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I backpack enough that I can justify the expenses I spend on all the ultralight gear. You're going out a couple times a year and you're fine with conventional gear. That's just fine. I'm not trying to tell you guys what you should or shouldn't do. I'm telling you what I have done and what works for me. And the whole idea is that, you know, you guys, you know, get on the internet, you look up videos, and you see other people's opinions on stuff and how they do things, and you pick best practices. That's what I do. You know, some people might do something I hate, somebody might do something I like, right? So that's kind of the spirit of the video, is just kind of showing you some of the decisions that I have made and why I made them. But don't take this video too seriously. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in for this ridiculous video, but I thought it would be fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you took something away from it that's, you know, going to help you out with your gear selection. A couple different things, you know, go ahead and join our Facebook group that we have. We are organizing an annual backpacking meetup. It's going to be in Dolly Sods, West Virginia. It's probably going to be a 3-day trip. Go ahead and click the link in the description box below. Join that Facebook group. You can ask us any questions you have there. We can share videos. We have a couple of chat rooms going on for like gear talk and stuff like that. So it's a really good place to interact with us, you know, a little bit deeper than you can in the YouTube comment section. But once more, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know, the channel wouldn't exist without your support. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, so if you're up in the air, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Go ahead, give me a thumbs up, and leave me some comments down below on how on how ridiculous you thought this video was. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.